High ticket closers that are making between $5,000 and $10,000 in commission that are looking to take their numbers up to the $20,000 to $30,000 a month mark. You have no excuse not to watch this video in its entirety, especially if you clicked on it in the first place to improve your sales skills. If you're not familiar with myself, my name's Ethan. I went from having no prior sales experience to making over $30,000 a month in commission as a high ticket closer, and I've cash collected over $56,062 in a single day. So grab a pen and paper, take some notes, and I promise you, if you begin to implement some of these advanced sales techniques, you'll break through every sales plateau that you've ran into up to now and finally get to the commission you deserve. Let's jump into the call review.
No. It starts at 5. I'm getting there early just because of this phone call, but there was just a little bit of traffic. I apologize for not. I can park right now if you want.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, we could talk, and then if it does come down to it, we got to do some homework or whatever. Maybe pull over. It's all
way too informal. I'm going to go back on this. Just a heads up, I mean, I'm pretty confident anybody that does, I mean, I've made it abundantly clear that they're going to be getting grilled, but anyone that submits these calls in knows how I review my calls. It's line by line. So the probability of us getting through 10 minutes is pretty slim, but we'll see.
Apologize for not. I can park right now if you want.
Yeah, no, it's all.
Yeah, 100%. Just let me know once you're in a spot where you can pull over, and then we'll dive right in. No problem at all. Boom. Especially because he actually apologized himself and then offered it up. I mean, at the end of the day, you definitely don't want to be taking a call with someone when they're driving because they'll be distracted. And there's actually a level of danger to it. Like, somebody's not supposed to be taking a video call while they're driving in the car. Like, I'm pretty sure that is illegal. It's effectively like being on the phone. So they're not going to have full concentration.
It's all good. You know what I mean? Like,
It's all good. You know what I mean? He doesn't know what you mean. And it's not all good.
we could talk, and then
Ollie?
So I was going to quickly say, obviously it's only been like literally 15 seconds, but without like jumping to assumptions, I'm going to say this guy probably doesn't have much free time or much freedom, hence why he's taking it in a car. That would be where my mind's going right now. So that could potentially be, what he's looking at getting out of, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the type of individual who knows they've got a scheduled meeting to rehabilitate their knee, which is of probably great importance because you need your knees to move, but you can't, cut out 30 to 45 minutes of your day to show up to that meeting. You have to take it in the car driving to something else. Could have an issue with time in his life.
if it does come down to it, we got to do some homework or whatever. Maybe pull over. It's all good. But usually we like to take calls that where like there's going to be no interruptions. But it's all
absolutely.
good, man.
Way just too off the cuff, to the point where I'm actually confused as to why you've done that. Like, just putting it plainly, like, it's almost as though you're like, yeah, like, whatever, this call kind of doesn't even really matter that much, but like, we'll see what we can riff-raff and chat about and see where it takes us. The reasoning usually as to why people do that is because they believe that if they're nicer, if they're more forthcoming, if they don't really challenge the individual, that it's going to build rapport because they're going to see you as a buddy. They're going to see you as a friend. But we're not here to be these people's friends. We're here to have a conversation that they've probably never had before. It's potentially going to be an uncomfortable conversation because that's what it will take to get them out of their way to finally make the decision that will change their life for the better.
Let me park real quick, and then I'll be good. I just got an oil change.
This guy's more conviction. He's like, you know what? I will park. You know what? Let me park.
My wife just got done, so it was just a little bit hectic because she got sick. That was the only thing. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good, Chase. Is your wife in the car with you now?
No, sir, just me.
Okay, cool. So,
good wife check.
Hey, bro. So I have a few notes here, man, but I never want to assume anything. But
oh, he's picked something up from the calls, that's for sure. Never like to assume anything for him.
What are you looking to? Where are you located right now? Actually,
I'm in Alpha.
I do not understand the relevancy of that. You were about to begin the process and effectively ask him what the specific outcome is, I'm assuming he's looking to achieve. And then you cut yourself off to ask, where is he based? I want to understand. Let's see where this goes.
Alpharetta, Georgia.
Okay, awesome, man, awesome. So
Nerves. That's all this is. It's nerves. Yeah, 100%. Johnny, we're nervous. That's what it's coming down to. And the reason as to why you suddenly asked him like where he's coming from, once again, you feel as though, hold on, I kind of want to build a bit more rapport with this guy. Like I don't want him to feel like this is a sales process. I want him to be calm, relaxed. Rapport will come from asking people questions that they know they need to hear. And you just need to trust your capability in running your process smooth enough for that to be the case. And if you don't have confidence in your capability as of yet, then obviously that needs more work to improve over time through repetition.
how about this, man? Do you know what you're looking for specifically? How can I help you out?
What is it? Or I would just always use the exact same question I always use. What's the specific outcome that you're looking to achieve from resolving XYZ problem right now? We want to assume that they do know exactly what they're looking for, because otherwise, why have they booked the call in? If someone booked a call in with me and I was like, do you know like what you're actually looking to even get out of being here? And they were like, nah, I don't really know. I'd be like, oh well, is that necessarily the type of individual you are, just to kind of randomly put calls in for no real apparent reason? Come on, man, there's got to be something behind this.
I want to play sports. I just really just want this knee pain to go away. Whenever I do sports, it gets worse, and I'm just tired of it. Gone to PT. I've gone to doctors who say surgery is not going to help.
Yeah.
I've tried knees over toes, guys, stuff. I just could not ever progress. He said that I would progress, and I continued to try stuff. I still do things he says to do because
Another example of why we need to wait for him to pull over. Choppy internet, right? This can be completely unpredictable.
it feels good, but it doesn't. I guess I feel like I go back to zero every time I get into a sport.
Really?
So I'll do like 3 months, and I won't do any sort of sports, no impact, just the exercises that he tells me to do. And then after that, I would go and I would play basketball, and then I would go back.
So there's two main points here. First point is 100% going forward, always wait for them to pull over. There is just no benefit to not doing that. He's not fully focused. Of course, he clearly does want to participate in the conversation. He was the guy who actually insisted he pulled over. So we just wait. You say, you know what? I'm going to go run and grab a quick coffee. I'll just give you 2 to 5 minutes just to find a good spot to pull over, and then we'll dive straight in. I used to do that and then just go fill up a cup with water. Like, if I didn't actually want to make a coffee, I'd make a cup of tea. I'm from the UK, though, so not many people from the US probably going to do that. Secondly, this is a case where somebody is giving a good response, he's answering, but we're leaning into monologue territory now, where he's already said quite a few points that we could have branched off of. And if we just continue allowing him to just talk, it's going to get more and more difficult to loop back to one of the points he mentioned without it seeming a bit odd or unnatural. And Ollie picked up on it. Ethan picked up on a bit of body language as well. But he says, really want some of the pain gone. I mean, I've only wrote 4 things down. Play sports, really want knee pain gone, tired, go back to 0. The 2 branching questions I would have asked already is, like, when you say tired, like tired in what sense? Like physically or psychologically? And then he would have elaborated there, because he would then probably say, oh, I mean, a bit of both, man. I'd assume he'd probably say, right? And like when you say go back to 0, like what does that actually look like? Going back to 0? Because they're two things that are ambiguous. Like going back to 0, does that mean he's in agony? Does it mean he can barely walk? Or does it mean like, I don't know, mild discomfort? Could be a broad spectrum. So they're the two main pointers I would have gone off already.
Back to the same pain that I had prior.
Interesting. Okay. And how long has this been doing?
With that, I would go and I would play basketball, and then I would go back to the same pain that I had prior.
Interesting. Okay. And how long has this been duration of like having to deal with this back and forth things like seem like they're working and then they're not?
I would say the past year to 2 years, I finally got to the point to where I was like, okay, I really do need to stop because it was affecting work. I get up on roofs, and so my knee would give out. So I said, okay, I have to stop because obviously there's a danger, a hazard to that. But I've had knee pain and knee problems since I was about 15 years old.
Wow.
Oh wow, bro. How old are you now?
Good.
I'm
Nice.
26.
Okay. Okay. So you're doing a few things there.
Wow. So for the last 11 years, just plant it harder with a quick like reaffirmation statement like that. Just so he's like, wow. Because sometimes if you like state it like that, people haven't actually thought about it that way. And it just kind of makes it land again.
For rehab specifically, what are you doing right specifically? What okay. Okay. So you're doing a few things there for rehab specifically. What are you doing right now to try to help your knees out?
So I do in my workouts, basically what I do is couch stretch. I stretch the groin muscle the way that it knees over.
I would have asked what caused the knee pain 11 years ago. That's what I want the context on. So what was it 11 years ago that actually started this? Get a little bit of context. And over the last, I mean, heck, 11 years, like what have you actually tried and put in place to resolve this issue? Like, because he's already given you a huge time scale. And like, we can really basically pin this guy now on the fact that he's had a very serious problem for 11 years that has impacted his career, that's impacted his enjoyment of life because he can't even play the sports that he loves anymore. I'm assuming when he mentioned he was up on roofs, that was for a job role that he then had to stop because of this. So we've got levels of importance there that we can effectively double down on by asking him what he's tried to do to resolve said issue over X length of time.
Where toes guy told me to put your legs on the wall.
Okay.
I do tib raises. I'll do elevated squats, but I don't do heavy. So I'll do.
Gotcha.
There's basically like a variation of squats where you hold a dumbbell and you almost like.
Oh,
I
you're
don't know how to
cutting.
describe it, but
You keep cutting out, brother. It's pretty hard to hear you.
oh, do I? Hang on
Yeah.
a sec. Let me
No worries. How was knees over toes program? We have a lot of people that come to us after them. How was it for you?
It was okay. Basically, I would present a problem or concern, or I'd be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is not working the way that it should. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural." And they basically just said, "You're doing great. Just keep going."
Really? Wow.
I was like, "All right, I'll just keep going." And I never progressed. I could never get stronger because I couldn't get into a.
Yeah, good job, Ollie. So it's been okay, or just okay. Could have hit him with that quick question retort.
The Patrick step I do a lot,
Yeah.
but I never see. Every time I do a sport, it goes back to 0, and I can barely do a Patrick step.
Okay.
So
So since you started working with them, I mean, how long ago was that you started with these over toes? XYZ time ago. And how much was it that you actually invested into their mentorship and the guidance that they gave you? Okay. Since then, what results have you had? No, well, nothing. Like I keep kind of going back to 0. Oh, wow. I mean, were there other people inside the Knees Over Toes community that you saw did get really good results and actually were able to rehabilitate their issues, then we just go down the path, right? Of if he says yes, what do you feel it was then that was like the big differentiating factor between why others saw results but you didn't, or you happened to not? Happen to not, probably be a bit less direct and better way of saying that. And then he's like, he has to like explain himself then, right? As to why it wasn't a necessary fit for himself, what the problem was. And this could begin to reveal identity issues, but it could also potentially reveal logistical issues that you can then tailor the pitch toward. Because then if he's effectively saying, I am an individual that really thinks I require XYZ type of coaching and they just didn't provide it, you're like, right, okay, I know what to effectively tee up for the pitch. That's what makes that so powerful.
Okay.
That's one of my big concerns is that I feel great after I stop doing sports, and then I get the confidence to go back into a sport. The
Sure.
second I jump or I stop
Pivot,
abruptly,
putt. Yeah.
after one session, an hour, I'm back
Yeah.
to zero.
Really? Okay. So we can get into that stuff, but like your current rehab process.
This is super nitpicky, but you guys know what I'm like on my calls. You've said it a couple times already, Johnny, but the way you say really, that in terms of language is implying that what he's saying like might not be true. It's like if somebody says something to you and you're like, really? It's like you almost don't 100% believe what they're saying. But if it wasn't real and if it wasn't true, like why would he be saying it in the first place? So I would just consciously remove that from your language. That, and there's also just a tick word, which is like. I still have that in my vocab at times. That's a super common tick word, but just bringing it into your consciousness and your awareness is going to help you to remove it because it's just unnecessary.
Process that you're doing right now. What do you think you're missing in it?
Not a clue.
Okay, I can see the direction we're going.
Not a clue. Okay.
I'm willing to
Not a clue what I'm missing.
say anything, everything. Maybe consistency. I'm sure that's a part of it. I probably do these things every 2
A consistency in what sense?
to 3 days.
Okay. Okay. So you feel like consistency is probably somewhat of your bottleneck. Also, not really knowing exactly what to do for
We don't really know what he means by consistency. We need to unpack that first.
your situation, and as well as getting the answers to your questions when something pops up.
Yeah, I don't really care about people answering my questions as
You see, he's like, yeah. He doesn't have a fucking clue what he's even talking about right now. He's not like thinking fully. I think he's just sort of waffling a
long
little
as
bit.
my knees feel better.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's the main goal. You know what I mean? And so, out of
It's not the goal, it's the inevitability. Well, no doubt, like of course. Well, no doubt, of course, that's why we're here, right? And then I would have gone down the route I mentioned earlier. So, like, when was it that you invested into them? How much did you invest? Like, what results have you actually seen since working with them? He's clearly going to say none. Be like, none. Wow. I mean, were there other people that started a similar time as yourself and have seen results? No. Bam, bam, bam. That's how we're going to unpack him saying he has no clue what he needs. That's how we're going to figure out what he needs and how we're going to help him come to his own conclusion there. Consistency with previous course or with his own discipline? Exactly. Hence why we need the clarifying question there because we don't really know what he means.
everything, though, what do you think is your biggest challenge? Actually finding something that works, or what?
Also, I'm just going to keep pulling it up. The demeanor needs to change. It's unserious when this needs to actually be made into a very serious conversation because that's what we're having. This is a very serious issue that he needs to resolve. It's like if you were to walk into a doctor's office, you guys hear me say this all the time, but it's always a good example. Like you walk into a doctor's office and you're like, man, I've been getting this like really chronic knee pain, like it's wrecking my life. I had to like quit my job as a roofer and I can't play sports. And he's like, What? So is it like fucking hurting or what? Like kind of like an achy ache, or like what is it? You'd be like, what the? Where am I? You'd be like, I am not allowing this guy to analyze my knee. That's for sure. So you've got to think about the demeanor that we're putting across. We want to tone it down. We want to become a bit more resolute, slow down our speech a little bit, stay composed here. We're a professional consultant that's here to help somebody. We're not here to be boring. We can still have a little bit of a laugh with people. We can still have fun. Like I have done that on my calls on multiple occasions. Like I put on like the weird visor at one point with a guy I was speaking to, but at the same time, I still made sure that I was having a very based professional conversation with him. It was only at times where I thought, you know what, we can add a little bit of humor when we're not speaking about like the crux of what we're on the call for.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you doing anything?
Wait, what, did he even just answer your question?
Yeah. I don't really care. Yeah. I don't really care about people answering my questions as long as my knees feel better.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's the main goal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so, out of everything, though, what do you think is your biggest challenge? Actually finding something that works or what?
So we fed him the answer. Right. Okay. That's why he didn't respond, because we should have just said, what do you think is your biggest challenge? Question mark. But because we've said, actually finding what works or what, he's just going to go, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you doing anything? One thing I didn't hear was, are you doing anything specifically for your hip flexors?
Hip flexors. So what I do is, I don't know if you know the one where you connect your legs.
So now we're going back into just this fucking like logistics, basically, where it's like, I'm just going to talk to you about what I've done for my hip flexors. But the issue is we haven't actually broadened the horizon and the timeline on this guy, even though he fed us it earlier. Because this is where call reviews get nuanced, because you guys know, like, I can only review the call live as it's going. But if we'd asked a certain question like 15 minutes ago, we would be having a completely different conversation right now, right? So the conversation that we should have had with this individual, Johnny's frame is too agreeable. Yeah, that's part and parcel of kind of the demeanor there. The conversation we should be having with this individual is, given the fact he's had pretty terrible knee pain for the last 11 years, what has he tried over 11 years to resolve it? He then says, I don't know, here and there. I tried knees over toes more recently. When was it? How much did he invest? Did he see results? What was the cause of him not seeing results? Did other people see results? Did nobody see results? We then break that down. Okay, and in regard to moving forward then, so that you actually can resolve this issue, what do you feel would need to be in place for it to be a success this time around then? That's how we would basically tee up to like this exact point in the conversation that we're at now.
Your ankles to like a cable machine, and you bring them like.
And I wouldn't need to know any of this really. This is why, like, when people speak to me about he's more comfortable talking about logistics and the prospect's personal situation. Yeah, because logistics, right? If we ask them about what hip flexor exercises they've done, there's no confrontation. There's no challenging. There's nothing that could cause sales resistance or friction in the conversation at this point. So we're opting for that route.
You're laying on the ground and you basically bring it like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Your chest?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anything else outside that for hip flexors for like resistance and load?
No, just that.
Okay. Is there any particular, like, why not?
To be honest, I just I thought that was a good exercise. That's it.
My thought process here is, I believe that the reason as to why you're asking this is to begin to build the gap between his knowledge and the techniques and the strategies he's been using and the XYZ techniques and strategies that you guys would provide that would therefore provide him with better results. The conversation you're therefore having is a surface level 1 logistics conversation. Like, the XYZ process you're running is here, the XYZ process we're running is here, which is great. Like, at the end of the day, you need to have a level of logistics outlined that will get covered in the pitch. Ethan summarized it there, almost creeping into pitch already. Exactly. Like these details will all get covered in the pitch. If the logistics aren't covered in the pitch and the value isn't built, then there's a problem with your pitch or there's a problem with the offer. Simply put. The discovery portion of the call needs to all be about getting toward the emotion, and then even better if we can do getting toward the identity behind why we're looking to resolve XYZ issue.
Okay. What about your feet and ankles, man? These are your first line of defense. This is what touches the ground the first thing. Are you
See, because now we're just like head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We're gonna start
Strengthening your
singing
feet
in a
and ankles.
minute.
I was for the past since October. I've been doing like banded exercises for my ankles.
Okay,
What the
yeah.
PT told me to do. Basically, I'm bringing my ankle in like this with resistant band resistance, out like
Okay.
that, up like that. That way, I did tip raises.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's helped you, or do you feel like you're fully addressing those completely, or how do you feel?
My left ankle rolls a lot. I think I've just got pretty flexible joints.
See, the questions here just are fruitless because he's already told us that what he's been doing has not been working. Hence why he's now here. We don't have his why yet either, missing why he wants to be able to play sport again and the significance behind it. True.
My right ankle's great, feels great. My
Okay.
left ankle, anytime I'm running towards my left, I stop with my left foot, it will just snap and roll.
Really? How long have you been dealing with that specifically?
5 years.
Wow.
Well, after we've got 11 years now, we've got 5 years with this problem.
I
Okay.
typically play on turf, and it's
Yeah.
not a problem. But whenever I play on uneven ground, it rolls almost every time.
What do you think is like the biggest reason, like why you've struggled the most with by getting your knee back to 100%, like out of everything?
I just don't see anything that works. Like I'll try it for 3, 4, 5 months, and then I go play sports, and everything digresses. So
Okay.
nothing stays. I can get my knees to feel great if I don't play sports.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, bro. Like a lot of programs out
Yeah, this is where we go right in with Ollie's question now. Like, I mean, by the sounds of it, man, if we were to quit the sport, then you wouldn't be suffering with as much pain and like potential, degradation that we've been facing up until this point. Like, what actually is the significance behind still needing to take part in these sports to yourself? Boom, there's his why. And he's going to unpack it and basically say that he needs sports in his life, otherwise he's going to be depressed and it means everything to him.
there work, but not all of them get you back to 100%, and ultimately like they can give you like the resources, the guidance and the coach and the PT and stuff, but ultimately it comes down to who to get the results, right? So I just want to ask you, were you
Well, you didn't even let him answer just then. You sort of asked, you just made an arbitrary statement. Like, because at the end of the day, it comes down to who, right? Like, it comes down to who has a question mark at the end. We need to slow down. You were on the right track there by actually adding comes down to who, right? Because you actually did phrase it as a question rather than a statement. But then you moved on as if it were a statement. We should have just stopped right there and had him say, well, of course, like, comes down to me, right?
were you actually 100% consistent, and were you actually 100% disciplined with what they provided for you?
Yeah, so I would say the PT that told me to do it, what he told me to was originally, he said, do this right now. Specific heavy exercises, he said do it once to twice a week. I was
Okay.
consistent. And then he said the smaller things, like working on my ankles,
Yeah.
working on he said that my glute was very weak. And
Okay.
then so I worked on that. By the end of it, he said it's strong. I'm not really sure what's your
How did
problem.
you feel about that? Did you feel like it was strong or no?
I feel like it's pretty strong.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to compare it to.
You're doing a lot of good stuff. We do a lot of that stuff in our program too. But more than likely, man, you're not addressing like the full kinetic.
I wouldn't say that either, because the stuff he has done has not worked. So we don't even want to mention anything. Like, we do that stuff in our program too. Like, that isn't going to have a positive connotation, but it could potentially have a negative connotation. It's not going to move the needle forward anymore for yourself. But if this guy then thinks, oh, you've just said you do exactly what I've already done, and like I really wasn't too pleased with the results I got, that's what he's going to be thinking subconsciously.
chain of your leg and being consistent enough, because it's like if you do some things consistently and correctly enough, you're going to get to where you want to go, right? As long as you have the right roadmap. That being said, everybody's body's different, right? So everybody needs a specific situation for their specific solution. So is it like maybe a chance that like these guys from Knees Over Toes and PT kind of just gave you a program that was like out of their computer that could have been for someone else, or some cookie cutter program potentially?
We see, he's telling, yeah, we seem like just a little bit all over the place. Like I can't really sense like where we are trying to take this conversation. It's almost like we're just freestyling completely without a structure. Like you're just trying to come up with your question on the spot and think like what question like could maybe get something out of this, because we would have had all of these answers already if we mentioned what I said earlier with that structure of questions, with him working with the knees over toes prior. Yep. How much did he invest in that PT? Were they super cheap? How long is he with them for? Yeah. They were the literally first two questions I mentioned earlier. When was it that he started working with them? How much did it cost? What success did he see? Nah. Given that, did other people see success? Did they not? What was the difference between the people who did see success compared to him? I don't know. Well, I mean, if we were to look at it together and you were to have a think, because of course that's probably going to be quite significant for us. Like, what do you feel it actually was? There you go. Like, you're answering my question, brother, is what I would be saying to myself in that situation.
That's how I felt. That's why I was kind of worried about. I'm still kind of skeptical, if that makes sense, because I've tried like
There's the objection.
3 different things. Nothing's
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
so Nihab, it's kind of this. I mean, I've found it online, and I'm kind of desperate, so I'm definitely
Wow. He's desperate, but we have to help him with his skepticism.
willing and open-minded. But
Yeah.
also, I've been burned a couple times. Feels like.
I get
Wow.
it, man. I get it. And you know,
Get it? I get it.
and you're married, right? You said something about your wife.
Yeah.
Did you? Let me ask you this: did you have any relationships before her?
So we're like diving onto him with the reframe, and this is what I see a lot of closers do, where you think to yourself, I know the exact analogy for this. Oh, don't you worry. I have been rehearsing my script in my evenings, and I've been watching a lot of congruent closers call recordings. I know the analogies that they use. I'm going to use one of these analogies right here. The issue is if you jump straight at somebody with a reframe to try and shift their way of thinking and to shift what they've said, we don't have the context, which is what Ollie's just mentioned there. We need context on all of what he's just said. So, like, let me go back a little bit.
Oh, I've been burned a couple times. Feels like.
Wow, dude. I mean, no, I can imagine. Like, especially with an issue like this that you've been facing for the last 11 years. I mean, outside of the knees over toes, which I would already have a bunch more context on, like, who else have you worked with? And, like, what have you done as well on top of that to try and resolve this in the past? Because you say a few times there, oh, I did this, I did that. And you feel as though you didn't see any results from those separate ventures. Now, XYZ, unpack. How come? Because of XYZ, because of this, because of that. And I suppose, like, looking at it together, I know, I mean, you used a very strong word. You said desperate, right? But at the end of the day, I'm sure you want to make sure that this next step actually does work for yourself. What would that process actually look like? Like, how are you actually going to know when the next opportunity is right and will actually get you the results that you've been looking for the past X length of time? Oh, I don't actually know. Yeah, right. Because I suppose, like, how will you ever know unless you start to find out? Would you agree? Yeah. No, totally. Because I mean, are you married, by the way? No? There you go. Now I'm probably going to hit him with this. Now I'm going to go for the reframe and allow him to understand that if he allows the skepticism to hold him back, he's never going to be able to start to then discover whether it'll be the right opportunity, which he's just agreed to. Did that like layering make sense to everyone? How you saw me get there then? That's how we would need to have handled this. But because if we just go bang, analogy, bang, reframe, this individual's going to think, oh, has this guy like had that scripted out? Like, is he having like my conversation or is he having like his pre-cooked here's one I made earlier conversation.
I get it, man. I get it. And and you're married, right? You said something about your wife.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: did you have any relationships before her?
No.
No, just
See, he's like, what the fuck is like this guy talking about? Like he looks so confused.
spent with her. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to reference here is that, like, if you don't give something another shot, and you just continue staying stuck, will you ever get to where you want to go?
Right.
What the fuck, Johnny? Just happened? It's like we had like a concept of what needed to be said, but we just fucking gave up. Like after the like you remembered the first maybe 2 sentences of the reframe, and then we're like, ah, fuck, whatever. What I'm trying to say is like this. Fuck. And I'm laughing from a place of kindness because look, we all start in a certain spot and then we work from it. I remember my initial calls. I'm telling you right now, they were not smooth.
I get it, man. I get it. And and you're married, right? You said something about your wife.
Yeah.
Did you?
Okay.
Let me ask you this: did you have any relationships before her?
Relationships. Let me ask you this: like before you got married to your wife, and then obviously this may sound a little bit peculiar, but just follow me here. Like, have you been in any relationship prior to there, or been with someone before now? Yeah.
No.
He said no. He said he didn't date anyone prior. So this is probably why it completely stumped him. And then you're like, oh fuck, he didn't follow the fucking script, man. That's not what you're supposed to say. At that point, the super easy pivot, by the way, is to say, well, I suppose, let's say a buddy of yours, this would probably suit yourself a bit more. I mean, let's say a buddy of yours approached you and spoke about how, look, he's been dating a couple girls. He thought it was going to be fantastic. He thought he was going to get married to them. I'm sure you know somebody who's had that in their life, right? Like we all know a guy. He's like, people will usually just nod along at you if you say something like that. Like, yeah, yeah. He'll be like, and he comes to you and he says, man, Chase, I feel as though like the last girl I was with really kind of messed me around here. Like I feel as though I'm just gonna stay single for the rest of my life. Like what piece of advice would you probably give him? That's the angle I would now take. That's the way where we can not completely flunk the analogy we were going to use and still actually get it to make sense and get it to land.
No, just met with her. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to reference here is that, like,
because I think here obviously we didn't know what to then say. We had this like pre-prepared script, so then we're like, oh fuck, where do I go from there?
if you don't give something another shot, and you just continue staying stuck, will you ever get to where you want to go?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
He just said right. I would say, well, we need to tie his answer down. He's just acknowledging you at this point. He's not actually absorbing anything you're saying. So I would say, well, do you feel as though if you do that, you will ever get to the results you're looking for? No. How come? Because obviously, if I don't start something else, I won't be able to resolve this, right?
like, you can either stay stuck or you can just try something else. It's totally fair to feel skeptical because these other things didn't work in the past. And I can tell you whatever I can want about the bells and whistles about our program, but our results share for themselves, right?
Okay, we've not actually handled the skepticism in any way, shape, or form there. We've basically just said, hey, it's all cool and okay that you're skeptical, like it makes complete sense. But like, fucking hell, dude, I can't do shit about that. That's basically what we've said to this dude. You've been like, shit, man, you keep being skeptical, and shit, what are we gonna do?
So that being said, and like what I want to ask here is like,
Like we just need this is like the key of state-based selling. We need to just chill out. I can hear your breath. Like you just let out a long, exasperated sigh. that is a sign of tension. You're like, whoa, where's this call going, man? Where's this call going? That's like what I'm imagining was going through your head right now, Johnny. It's like, where am I? Where's this call gone? Where's this call going? I'm lost. This is an assumption, but that's exactly where I think Johnny's head's at right now in this call.
You know, so for us, man, let me break it down to you like this. We're Kneehab Academy. We bulletproof knees.
Oh my God, now we're just pitching him. He knows your Kneehab Academy. It's on your t-shirt. That's why he booked in the call. He knows your bulletproof knees. We don't need to tell him this.
Right? You have pain in your knees. How do we bulletproof knees, man? We address the full kinetic chain of your leg. Okay. So our hip flexors are up here, our feet angles are down here, right? The knee's right in the middle. The knee is the symptom of the problem, right? Because everything in the body is correlated. Everything in the body works together. So if like these two aren't doing their job, your hip.
The reason why we're pitching now is because we got stumped on the analogy we used. We're panicking. We don't know where we're at in the call. We don't know how to get out of the part of the call that we're now in. So we're just doing emergency pitch. That's what I'm going to call this from now on, actually, the emergency pitch. It's like when someone pulls the ejector seat. You're like, oh, I'm just going to pitch him. I'm just going to pitch him so I can get this call over with because like I've completely flumped this call. So then you pitch.
Your hip flexors and your feet, you know what I mean? Your knee's gonna be the one compensating for it, right? This can even like result in lower back pain that we help clients out with too.
Yeah,
So it's
take
like,
my chances. That is exactly it. I've been guilty of that before. I think everyone on this call's probably done this once in their closing career. Like you think, emergency pitch. Like, man, I don't know where this call's going to go, but if I pitch him, I've got higher than a 0% chance of it closing, so I'm going to pitch him.
you know, your feet are your first line of defense. They're designed to absorb force. Okay. So every time you land or
Is this actually just the pitch?
knee exercises and mobility,
Pitch.
what is like the worst?
Pitch.
A little bit better. So I went out to play basketball one time and I felt amazing. I was
Now we're back just talking about the injury.
October of last year.
Okay.
Knees over toes. I was doing for about 6 months.
Oh my, we got the context on how long he was doing it for. Now.
How long?
With PT, I did it. I just stopped, and it was October of last year.
Okay.
Knees over toes. I was doing for about
Here we
6
go.
months.
Here we go.
So
we should have got this 5 minutes in.
We have a few things here. You know, traditional PT in most cases, right? They can't go outside their protocol. They just mainly focus on isolating knee exercises.
And now we're just yapping at him about like why what he's done wouldn't work, hasn't worked. We're not having a conversation about him as an individual, and we haven't done the whole call effectively. We've jumped on with this guy. We've had him talk to us about how strong his glutes are and his hip flexors, and that what he's done in the past didn't work. We didn't really figure out why it didn't work. We didn't figure out how much he invested into it. We didn't figure out when it was until maybe just then. I think we figured out we didn't get any of that context. Then we went back into a random logistical conversation. We didn't kind of draw out or gain context on what he tried over 11 years. If he didn't try things sooner, how come? What made him wait till XYZ date to actually try to resolve this really significant problem? What is it that's held him back from resolving significant problem over the last X length of time? And why is he now in a position where he's ready to overcome this level of skepticism? Because how is he ever going to know whether he can resolve his problem unless he overcomes that skepticism to start to work with somebody else to find out whether that can be the path to success for him? That's the conversation that we need to be having with this individual and this guy. And notice how everything I've just spoken about is all about him. Otherwise, people will check out of the conversation. If they feel as though you're having a cookie cutter conversation with them, you're asking these bullet point questions that you ask everybody else, they are not going to care about the answers they give you, and they're not going to feel as though you're on the call with their best interests in mind. Anybody else got feedback on this, takeaways that they want to give on their summary of the call, things that could have improved here and there?
Slow it down.
Boom.
Definitely. It's like
Slow it down.
I was like that when I first on my first call, like way too fast, like breathing heavily. Like looking back on those calls, I'm like, fucking hell, man, just take a breath.
Yep. I remember
Yeah,
that's
his
actually one
body
of the things I
language as
said
well.
to you.
He was like jumping around in his chair at the start like this, and then almost like leaned through the screen at times like this, and then bounced back again and was moving like this again.
Yep.
That would make
Right
me
body
anxious if
language.
someone was on the other end of the phone doing
Yeah,
that.
it's like nerves, isn't it? But just like it makes you just regulate, like you said, your state. You're just so much calmer. You can actually just take time to just think, talk like authoritatively. Like it gives you so much more leverage.
100%. Tom, any feedback from yourself?
He uses a lot of filler words, but it goes back to state. It's like if he's just comfortable with silence and pausing and not rushing the conversation, he wouldn't use as many.
100%. Steve, I know you joined a little bit late. Not sure if he's still here. Muted. Nope, might have gone AFK. But all good takeaways. If I could give some actionables for yourself, Johnny, because effectively going forward, the concept is I'll upload like one of these each week with obviously like him and the prospect centered, like I do with all of your guys' coaching calls, so that they can have one of their calls reviewed by us, see how we operate internally, see the adjustments that we would make and how things could go differently. Number one, it all ties back to state. As everybody has said on the call, we need to be showing up to these calls calm, collected, and confident above all else, because that'll close more than any other variable. We need to slow the pacing of our words, slow and control our breathing. Like just relax into your chair, relax into the call. We are a consultant. This individual has booked a call in with yourself to resolve a very serious issue in their life. We need to operate accordingly. We then need to make sure that we are asking our questions with certainty behind them. And the reason as to why I know you currently don't have that is because you're fluffing your questions. Like, we want to do this, right? Or like maybe like, I mean, the reason why I'm asking you that is because of XYZ. Like, just ask the question. Keep it short, concise, and ask the question with purpose when you're going to ask it. And then pause, wait for their response. Sit in silence, because people tend to fill silences. So usually, if you feel as though they haven't actually given you the full answer that you're after, acknowledge and then just sit in a little bit of thought. They might add some more context to their response, add some more context to their answer. People are usually forthcoming. That's how people react to silence in a lot of cases. If you're the individual that falls into filling the silence, you're effectively buying into that concept that you're nervous, that you don't feel as though you can feel comfortable in silence yourself. And in regard to the way in which we should have ran the process with that individual, I have said this before, but just breaking it down, we should have immediately asked him what the specific outcome he was looking to achieve by resolving his knee pain was. He would have said be able to play more sports, be able to potentially get back into certain careers. He said he had to stop roofing, that we didn't necessarily get much context on. How long he had knee pain for 11 years. Over the last 11 years, what's he actually tried to resolve said knee pain. He would then give some context. What was it? Peace out, Ethan. What was it that held him back from resolving the problem sooner? From XYZ time that he did begin to take action to resolve it, what has held him back from actually resolving the issue? He would have given us the context that he'd already tried knees over toes. We would then say, how long ago was that you started with them? How much did you invest? What results have you seen since working with them? Did other people see results, or did nobody see results? Given the fact other people saw results, what do you feel was the differentiating factor between yourself and them not seeing results? Make sure they answer the question. If they say, I don't know, say, well, obviously, if we were to, have a, I wouldn't say obviously, but I'd say, well, if we were to sit here together and have a think on this, because I'm sure this is going to be significant for the both of us to figure out, what do you feel it was? Boom. We get the context on what it was that's held him back in the past there. He would either own up to it being internal ownership, or he would externalize the problem. There's certain reframes we can use to wrap it round to internal. And then the skepticism would come out. Skepticism we would unpack by following the process that I mentioned earlier on in this call, gaining clarity and context on all of the ventures he's tried, highlighting the fact that what process is he currently using to figure out whether the next opportunity will be right? How will he ever know unless he starts? Given that fact, we would then use the analogy. It didn't land because he's never had a girlfriend before. We would just pivot the analogy to saying, well, I'm sure, like, do you happen to know anybody that has been in prior relationships that they thought were going to last for a long time? You know, they really got heartfelt and involved with the partner, and then it just fizzled out and perhaps ended in a bit of a negative way. The likelihood is he knows somebody that's happened to, and then we just use that as the same analogy. Well, let's say that friend of yours came to you and said, look, Johnny, like, I've been doing XYZ, this has happened to me, I feel as though I'm never going to date again. I mean, what piece of advice would you give them? Do you feel as though that would actually be setting them up with the best possible chance of actually meeting a future partner that would be good for them, that would really bring great positivity to their life? No. So can you see how it's the same for yourself in regard to resolving the knee issue? Because if we continue to allow that skepticism to hold us back from finding a new opportunity, then what's going to happen? I'm never going to resolve my knee pain. And I mean, you mentioned there that the significance is to be able to play sport. Would it really be that bad? I mean, what actually is like the main significance between you still needing to take part in these activities and be physical going forward into the future? Oh no, it means XYZ so much to me. I still need to do this. I still need to do that. Wow. So looking at it together, I mean, can you see how the skepticism in and of itself is the primary concern that we would need to overcome in order for that future to not be the case? The one where we don't resolve the knee pain and then we can't ever play the sports that we love again and we can't make this happen. Yes. Boom. So why are you now ready? So why are you now in a position where you're ready to overcome that skepticism? Given the fact that we have been burned in the past and it hasn't worked before. What's different now that's brought you here today? Why now? Done. There you go. Hopefully, has that been helpful for everybody? It's a little new idea that I was toying with. I think it's quite interesting, quite intriguing. Lastly, just before we wrap up, huge shout out to Johnny for submitting that call. He was one of the very first people to submit a call in for us to take a look over. That takes guts. That takes, a lot of confidence, especially to submit a call that you know for a fact had some issues and you want it to be grilled, you want it to be reviewed. So massive shout out. Good step forward there. And I'm sure once he watches this review, he'll be able to implement, improve, and close more and more deals.